It's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Hey.
Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. I'm Anastasia Palacios,
Good morning. Happy Monday to you. I am Philip Simon.
and it is always a pleasure to be in your company. We hope that you had a wonderful weekend, and we're certainly looking forward to a fantastic show.
Yes, these weekends are getting too short, man. But
Indeed.
thank God for football and Netflix.
Yeah, my Netflix is ruining lives, man, and I was thinking
It
about
is
that.
ruining lives.
Because I said, the man, and I literally just thought about this morning, Phil, because my inclination was to get out of bed and watch Netflix, because honestly,
Right.
that's the space I'm in. And I said, this gentleman from Netflix is now a multi-millionaire. But he's preventing some of us from becoming that because all we do is sit home and watch Netflix.
It's funny. I mean, some of these things, what would we call them? Disruptives, right? Disruptives. I mean, you didn't think it was coming. You didn't think it would be sustained. But you never know with human nature, man.
Yeah.
So I watched, what is this called? Grandmaster, not Grandmaster Flash, but it was a Grandmaster Ip Man. Anyway, for those who are out there that know a little bit about martial arts, you know what I'm talking about. Ip Man, the originator of Wing Chun. Martial arts with Bruce Lee. So I just spent a lot of time in front of my TV, unfortunately. And then, of course, the Cowboys lost yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know if the Eagles won. I know that when the game was on, we were winning at that time, but I haven't checked the score. Oh, Godfrey telling me we won. So, it always feels good to be a winner.
Yeah. Oh, which team is that?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, yes, that's right. You're still an Eagle. I used to be an Eagle. And then they lost. Yeah, I used to be an Eagle, remember? Which year was that? Which year was that? It's 2 years ago?
I'm not gonna.
I was an Eagle in 2016.
Because you.
I'm a Patriot.
Anyway, so the point is that it is the weekend is gone now,
Yeah,
and
it's
we are
gone.
moving into a brand new week.
Yeah.
And we are actually getting closer and closer to the end of the decade. I don't think people have been putting that in perspective.
Listen.
Like you think, it's the last quarter of the year. No, it's the last quarter of this decade.
It's October.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? It's October?
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
2020 is almost here. I think 2020, is going to be really a transformational type of
Yeah.
era.
Yeah, no, it will be. It
Time.
will be.
Yeah.
It will be. I mean, certainly we know that we've been working from a United Nations perspective on these 2020 goals.
Right,
and
that's right.
then you see that kind of coming to a head as you look at what's even happened here with Dorian and climate change. And so, the decade, I think 2020 to 2029, we're really going to see some massive transformations. And we just pray for the best and hope that our country is and our leaders. And I pray for our leaders every night, Phil. I really do, because I can't imagine the pressure that they must be under to lead a nation of people.
Yeah.
But we continue to pray for their vision
Yeah.
and for their commitment to that vision, because certainly the times that we are facing now and are about to face and continue to face will require leadership that is visionary and is willing to really take the risks that are necessary to guide people through these times.
You say vision. I remember back in, was it early 90s? And Roosevelt Finlayson and Olivia Saunders and that whole crew, we were talking about this thing called Bahamas Vision 2020.
Wow.
And it's 2020. And, well, not so much of the vision part has been accomplished. But you're absolutely right. We have to kind of take the conversation in a different direction. I think a lot of it is exactly what we talk about. I mean, the headlines continue to be the same. The mindsets continue to be the same. And the only way we're going to truly transform this nation is a transformation through our young people. And that's why I'm so happy. We've been focused a lot on the Ministry of Youth and the Ministry of Education over the last month and a half for sure. But this month is Youth Month.
Yeah.
And of course, they're back on the show again to talk with us. Ministry of Education here to talk about the virtual classroom, which they started about a month ago. So we're going to get an update on how that's going.
Looking forward to that conversation with Ministry of Education. They've certainly been doing some things around there that I think will be helpful as we move toward a different future and a different focus, especially as it pertains to computer science and the way that we communicate and technology. And so, yeah, looking forward to that conversation with them. And we're also going to be joined this morning by oncologist Tracy Alkitis. You know that every October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and of course we know that our breast cancer rates are significantly higher than in other parts of the world. I think Grand Bahama is number 2 or number 1 in the world for breast cancer rates, and so want to confirm that. But certainly, I know that it is up there in the top 3. We're also going to take another look at what's happening with the APCO Chamber of Commerce. The devastation, it continues all of these weeks later, and I know that the government is working on things, and that certainly we've had a lot of private aid coming in. But from a business perspective, we know that businesses drive economies, and so really gonna continue on with that conversation with the APCO Chamber of Commerce this morning as well.
Yeah, and of course BPL is, they have their challenges straight across the board, but certainly even more challenges now. So we also have a segment we talk about what's happening with BPL in the restoration efforts.
Yeah, so all of that ahead.
We pray.
we pray. Well, before we go, though, I do want to acknowledge Tyler Perry for the launch of his studios this past weekend. Tyler Perry launched his studios in Atlanta, Georgia, and apparently they are bigger than any of the studios in Hollywood. And that you could actually fit like the Sony Theater, the Disney Theater, and the Universal Studios Theater all onto this significant piece of land that he has. It was once a Confederate base.
Oh, I remember that story, yes.
And so seeing just the level of black excellence that showed up this past weekend to just pay homage and celebrate with him, I mean, it really was something to see. And I just say that to say, I remember a few years ago when Tyler Perry was first getting started with the Medea plays, and he said that at that time the only thing he wanted, he'd run a play for about 4 years. Nobody would show up to the theater to see it, and the only thing he wanted was one sold-out play. Wow. And so to go from wanting that to now, about 10 years later, to seeing him launch this studio, it's a reminder of anything being possible. And I think that's what we try to bring here at Bahamas and Sunrise, a reminder to you that you can start somewhere and that it can grow and become something great. And you know when I see that? Godfrey Burnside.
Yeah. Bringing the weather to us in a consistent professional manner for so long.
Here he is with our first look at weather for this week, Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First in Insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Star, and good morning, Bahamas. Your first look at weather sunrise, a week wet in store weather-wise. We do have a surface trough across the northwest Bahamas, along with a low to mid-level trough across the central Bahamas, all producing cloudiness, showers, and thunderstorms. That low to mid-level trough is moving towards the northern central Bahamas, and that will combine with surface trough over the next couple of days. Any weather today, variable cloudiness and breezy, with scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms, 1 or 2 becoming heavier times. Your high temperature 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, mostly cloudy and breezy, with scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms, again 1 or 2 becoming heavier time. Your low temperature going down to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And some region highs and lows across the Caribbean, Barbados 83 and 79. In Jamaica, 83 and 71. In Trinidad, 84 and 77. And the Turks and Caicos Islands, 89 and 77. Across North America, Atlanta 82 and 64, in Raleigh 82 and 62, in Miami 85 and 79, Dallas, Texas 75 and 65, and Toronto, Canada 59 and 52. As we go through the week into Thursday, looking at cloudy skies, breezy conditions with some showers and thunderstorms, 1 or 2 becoming heavier times. The temperature daytime will be in the upper 80s, at nighttime in the mid to upper 70s. A pretty good weekend in store weather-wise. That puts her up in your first look at weather sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Star.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. The Virtual Classroom Initiative is an important component of the government's overall education reform. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and today we are joined by several teachers who are actually making the virtual classrooms happen. So excited to be meeting with these awesome women. We've got Felicia Miller-Bain. She's a teacher in the Virtual Classroom Center. Tiffany Johnson, who's also a teacher at the Virtual Classroom Center, and of course Tanya McKinsey is a teacher at the Virtual Classroom Center as well. Ladies, good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning.
A pleasure to have you guys with us. And I can tell you guys on Virtual Classroom because y'all look the part, right? So like you can see that somebody's going to be seeing you on camera. I kid, but it really is an exciting time for us, I think, as a nation when we look at our archipelago and realize that all of our teachers can't always get to some of the remote islands where we do have students who still have educational needs. So we're very excited that you guys have taken this on as our test babies in this system. And I'm sure that it's been good, but it's also had its challenges as you guys have done it. So I kind of want to walk people through what a virtual classroom actually is, right? And I'm assuming that means that you sit in front of a camera and then you talk to students. Do you have students live in the room with you as well?
No, we don't have any students live in the room. However, each student or each island has their own device and they plug into our virtual room. So we'll see 4 different islands at one time and we'll be teaching them that way. So everybody's on the same timetable. So when it's time for math, they go into the math virtual room, business, they go into business virtual room, English, so on and so forth. So you can actually see 4 different screens of students plugging into your virtual room at whatever the timetable puts forth for them to come in.
All right. So that is exciting, but I could also imagine maybe slightly nerve-wracking. How did it feel the first time you went into the virtual classroom?
Well, it was nerve-wracking.
Okay.
We had to actually practice our camera faces.
Okay. So, I knew I was already for the camera.
We had to practice that. Ms. Wilson said, "Go, you guys, go home, look in the mirror, get yourselves ready, because the children are going to be seeing you." So it was nerve-wracking, but eventually we all came into our own.
Okay.
And the children themselves, they're settling in very well with the program.
Okay. And for you, because I can imagine 4 screens at one time. That's normally in a traditional classroom. You guys are already talking to students, maybe 20 to 40 students in a room. And that's in one room, right? And so it can be hard to kind of look and see whose hand may be up, or to even just read their body cues that they may not be getting exactly what it is that you're teaching, or someone may want to answer a question and you don't see them. But in a space where you're looking at 4 screens, how has that interaction been in terms of getting students to communicate with you and for you to observe them and see whether or not they're following the lesson that you're teaching?
It has been a challenge, but very, 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 it is a challenge that we have to rise to the occasion to. And I find that what it causes you to do as a teacher is that you have to really, really engage your students. You have to get into the vocal aspect of your teaching. You have to develop a rapport with your students. And I find that sometimes even if you can't see them, you connect with them in so many other ways that you can still, you can say to Johnny, "I can see you," or say to Susie, "I can see what you're doing," and you know that, there will be a response which is positive. So it's challenging, but in every challenge, we rise to the occasion and it makes it fun as well.
Certainly. All right, so what is your subject area? What do you teach?
I teach commerce and bookkeeping and accounts.
Okay. So is the program for all high school students?
Yes, it does engage from 7 to 12.
Okay.
So we have the junior teachers and we have the senior teachers based on the subjects that we offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so bookkeeping and accounts for you. Child, bookkeeping and accounts.
I know.
Commerce is my friend. Bookkeeping and accounts,
Not
so much.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, what about you?
I teach English, and one of the unique things about the program is that it is also seeking to bring equilibrium to the students who are on the southern islands in the southern district, and even we have students from Abaco. Those students have been displaced as a result of the storm.
Okay.
And in my subject area, we do have some students who have not attained their BJC examination. They've not been successful during the last sitting. So what this program does is give them an opportunity to sit again, and this time with the aim of success. So I have students who are in grade 10 and grade 11. For one example, and this one was such a great anecdote for me. There's a young man who is from Black Point.
Okay.
And when I met him initially, in our initial rapport, asking of him, do you like English? And he said, I don't like English. It's not one of my favorite subjects.
Right.
But do you believe by maybe the 3rd or the 4th time that we had lesson, as I said in our class group, English rocks, he said to me, I think I'm liking this subject, you know? So I said, cool, you know, so it's fun for me and it's fun for them, and we're really able to gain a one-on-one kind of instruction and maybe cater to students, you know, their various needs that perhaps they were not able to get in the regular classroom.
That's interesting. I think for those of us that are in continuing education at this stage in our lives, one of the benefits that we have is also this online classroom.
Yes.
So I've taken like courses in continuing education online, and I really do enjoy it. But I know a lot of people might think that the actual physical instruction is best. So I'm so happy that you were able to bring that example to us and let us know that children really are succeeding in this. Do you think it's because of the technology that they like this interactive
I think so.
form?
They're used to it, and it's usually for games or music or videos, which is also something for us because we have to keep our lessons as exciting as possible. That's 45 minutes you just staring at me in the screen. So we have to incorporate a lot of other aspects of the lesson to make sure that they are fully engaged for the entire class time. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, what do you teach?
Soy la profesora de español. I had to do it because when I do it in class, everyone always laughs at me. I had to do it.
No, that's so cool. I might have done a lot better in my Spanish if you were teaching me online. I may as well say. No, but that's exciting. And I think especially being in this region, that's the kind of conversation that we need to continue to allow our kids to have the opportunity to engage in.
Yes.
And so it's awesome that they get to learn Spanish with you online. For you, what has been so far the biggest lesson from this experience as a teacher yourself?
Well, the biggest lesson that I've had so far is being prepared.
Okay. Okay.
Being prepared because it's like every day, every lesson is something brand new.
Okay.
Sitting in the brick and mortar classroom, to me it is quite different from being a virtual teacher.
Okay.
Like Ms. Johnson said, you have to work so hard to keep the children engaged because yes, the technology can be good, but it can also be distracting.
Yeah.
You see, so keeping the children engaged in the lesson, that has been one of the things that we have been working on.
And in future, if you guys had the opportunity, do you think you would stay? And I can this will be for each of you. Do you think you'd stay in the virtual classroom, or would you like to do maybe a mix of both traditional?
No, I'm good right here.
You like the virtual?
I do love the virtual classroom. It's a lot more work and preparation, but I love the challenge of it.
Yeah.
I love the challenge of it. And learning, professional development is every day.
Okay.
You learn a new system, you learn a new way of doing things, so I embrace the
virtual classroom.
I do.
And what about you?
I love the virtual classroom.
Okay.
As my colleague said, preparation is key. You have to be on top of your game. It challenges you. You have to be innovative, creative, professional development galore. I love it, I love it, I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm learning with my students.
Okay. And for you?
I most definitely will.
Okay.
Coming from a family island teaching, I wanted a challenge,
Okay.
and this has definitely been
But the challenge for you.
Yes.
Ladies, and listen, y'all are pioneers, man. This is exciting. No, it really is. It really is. And so congratulations to you for taking up the challenge of being in a new space and offering a new service. And I just hope that the ministry will continue to push you guys and to push this program because it's a blessing. And I think about kids who just do not have opportunity because there's no one to teach them.
Right.
And this giving them access is a blessing. So thank you guys so much for being with us this morning.
having us.
Thank you. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First insured drivers in New Providence every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want first response on your side, call 321st or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
We get up early every morning to offer safe and dependable service. Where quality service is paramount. An excellent travel experience is priority. Connecting the islands of the Bahamas to the world. Bahamas Air. We don't just fly here, we live here.
Don't miss The Financial Voice, October 9th at 8 p.m. at the Harry C. Moore Library. The free event is being held under the theme Tourism and Jobs, a better future for all. Panelists include Carlton Russell, Kerry Fountain, Rupert Pinder, Chandler Sands, and Vaughn Moss. Our host is Carlos Mackey. Come join us or watch us live on cable channel 212.
Welcome back to the show. It's been 5 weeks since Dorian blasted through our islands, devastating Abaco and Grand Bahama. We recently visited Abaco to see the work BPL is doing to re-energize that island. Here's our Suzette Parker with that report.
Wind speeds of 185 to 220 miles per hour during Hurricane Dorian destroyed homes, businesses, and communities in Abaco. This included over 400 power lines. BPL is mandated to provide power on Abaco, and they have already made good progress restoring power. We visited Abaco last week to get an update.
We have 2 crews in from Nassau, along with our own crews here, and after we did the assessment on the south, we decided to go after the south and look at trying to get the power restored there as soon as possible. So currently, as of today, we're about 95% in restoration in the poles and the lines and so forth. In my background, I don't know if you can see, but we have a 1.8 diesel generator that just showed up last night, and we're presently getting that wired up. And we're hoping if everything goes right and a little bit of luck that we'll have power sometime Friday down to the south. And then the second phase, we've already done our assessments going north. We currently did the assessment from Treasure Key down to all the different communities, one by one, down to Crown Haven. And we have the assessments done there where we have a lot of poles down, roughly about 232 poles down there and a lot of wire. And also right from outside the plant here, the 69 kV line going into Marsh Harbor. We did our assessment there, and we're currently in the process of getting ready to start resetting the broken poles there. Currently we have 13 of those 65-foot poles in our stores, and we have the others on their way. And we have crews all ready to start that work.
Extensive work is needed in the north.
So leaving here and going north, our main objective there, because of the devastation in Marsh Harbor, would be to get power to the government building, the clinic, the airport, and so forth, and some street lighting. And then thereafter, we'll be going north, where we have a lot of devastation there. So in saying that, we're still presently working on bringing in crews from Carolick. So hopefully, as the communication goes, and the biggest thing here now is also accommodations, trying to accommodate people, especially if we bring in, 50, 60 people, it's going to be hard to accommodate them. So we're looking at Camp Abaco right now. It's had a lot of damage, but we're going to go back in today. We've already looked at it once. We're going to go back in today with the COO, Mr. Pratt, and have a look and just see if it's worth going in and getting that place fixed up and having folks stay there.
The weather has been cooperating, and the teams have been working around the clock.
So right now the weather's been pretty good. We had a couple of near misses, a little bit of wind and stuff. In a way, it was a godsend because some of the points that we missed that were a little weak, they came down, so we were able to go back to those communities and get the restoration done there from that. But other than that, the weather hasn't been too bad. It's been, we've putting in some long days and 7 days a week, and so I think the guys are good teams here, and I think everybody's doing a great job, and from both Nassau and the folks on the ground here helping us out.
The BPL linemen are a welcome sight in this devastated community.
Well, when you're out on the road and they see the line trucks, you know, in times like this, the linemen are the heroes, right? But they forget about the folks, you know, behind the lines. But yeah, they're beeping the horns and they're waving and they're saying some nice things to folks. They're stopping. And we had one gentleman who actually broke down and cried when he saw, you know, the linemen on the road going south. He was just so happy.
To date, all of South Abaco, except the community of Island Homes and about 40% of Sandy Point, were re-energized. Efforts now turn to rebuilding the transmission lines from the Wilson City Power Station north to Marsh Harbor and getting that critical community infrastructure back online. For Bahamas at Sunrise, this is Suzette Parker.
Wait, that's Omar Little from The Wire. You think everyone is Omar from The Wire?
Wow, it's really nice to meet a fan.
It's like he's right here. Are you telling me he was being all type shows and stuff?
And you know, Rev Go Play plays a lot of good movies and TV shows.
Excuse me, can't you see we're watching something else? Rude.
Settle all your pop culture disputes with Rev Go Play. Watch, record, and stream all your favorite shows wherever you are. Free for all Rev TV subscribers. Rev, you and us together.
Do you want to know more about the scriptures, the early Christian church, its teachings, suffering, other religions, the authenticity of the Bible? The Anglican Theological Institute is for you. Enroll in a 3-year certificate program. Classes are conducted from NASA and Freeport on Saturday mornings. Don't miss a class. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with high-speed internet. Contact us at 603-2481. Visit our Facebook page. Pick up an application form at any Anglican church or at Addington House on Sands Road. The Anglican Theological Institute is for you.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Of course, it is October, and you know what that means. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And with our nation's history with breast cancer, it of course is a very important topic that we continue to want to discuss and bring to the forefront. Of course, men can have breast cancer as well, and so we invite you and them to stay with us during this conversation with Dr. Tracy Alkitis. Good morning, Doc, and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Good morning. A pleasure to be here again.
Always a pleasure to have you with us because we always learn so much when you come. And this, of course, is a very important topic because so many of us know someone who has had breast cancer. And when we consider that, we know that we need to continue to talk about it as a nation. What is the prevalence of breast cancer in particular in the Bahamas?
Well, the most recent statistics put out by the WHO is that there's an incidence of 213 per 100,000.
Oh, wow.
So that's significant, but and that's an estimate.
Yeah.
But I suspect it's higher than that.
Wow.
So yes, I concur with you that, you know, breast cancer is quite prevalent in our population, and everybody knows someone who's had it, who's intimately been affected by it. They've either been diagnosed or know somebody who's being treated.
Yeah.
So it really impacts us on a regular basis in the country.
And now we know that women obviously would get it more, but we do know that there's some men who've also had breast cancer. And what kind of happens there? Would their symptoms be similar to that a woman would find?
The same symptoms.
Okay.
Yes, the same symptoms.
Okay.
And we on average Like at the Princess Margaret Hospital where I practice primarily, we see about 1 or 2 male cases per year.
Wow.
And it's treated the same way that women are treated.
Okay. So let's talk about those symptoms then, because we want both men and women to pay attention to this conversation. What would symptoms of breast cancer look like? You know, and of course this thing goes in stages. But initially, as you're touching your boobs, which is what people recommend to kind of give you an initial indication that something may be wrong, what should you be looking for?
Well, you know, in the earliest stages, there really are no signs and symptoms.
Oh, wow.
And that's when you hope to diagnose it. And you do that mainly by screening mammograms.
Okay.
But it is when it's in its advanced stages that you can actually feel a mass.
Okay.
You can sometimes feel a mass under your armpits, in your lymph nodes.
Okay.
Sometimes you can get an area that looks like an orange. It's called peau d'orange with the stippling.
Okay.
It can become swollen and edematous, and sometimes it can become red and inflamed as well.
Okay.
So there's a whole range of symptoms. The tenderness is usually late if there is any pain, because it's usually painless initially.
Okay.
So that is why screening mammograms become all the more important.
Yeah.
It's a gold standard for diagnosing breast cancer. And you know, there are certain criteria that you must fulfill in order to have the screening done.
Okay, so let's talk about that criteria.
So, you know, there are standards, you know, worldwide, and the American Cancer Society has their guidelines that we try to follow. But I think we need to remember in the Bahamas that we're a little bit unique in terms of our breast cancer profile, particularly in the Bahamian women of African descent, because we know that our women of African descent have a high rate of the breast cancer gene, which makes breast cancer occur a little bit earlier than the average, which is usually supposed to occur in women over 50. But in our population, we see a significant number of women that present younger than 50, and about 43% we see.
Wow, younger than 50?
Younger than 50.
Okay,
yes.
so people really need to start those screenings a bit earlier here.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
In general, you know, breast cancer guidelines state that the most updated ones suggest that women 40 to 44 have a conversation with their primary health care provider about their family history, medical history, and their risk factors, and they can choose whether or not to have a mammogram. In our population, because of our history, as I stated, I think it's important that we start screening at 40.
Okay.
From 45 to 54, every woman should have an annual mammogram.
Okay.
And from 55 and older, you have the option of having a yearly mammogram or having it biannual, every other year.
Okay.
But again, all of these factors and the age ranges, you should have this discussion with your family healthcare provider.
So are there any instances when somebody might go before 40? Like, you know, if they're a mom or cousin or an aunt that had breast cancer early on, should those people be paying attention even before they reach 40 to getting mammograms done?
That is part and parcel of the incidence of the prevalence of the breast cancer gene in our population. Oftentimes you will see women with a family history of a mother or a sister that presented with breast cancer at 35 or so.
Okay.
So in that case, when it's that young, it makes you think that there's some kind of genetic component to it.
Okay.
And we suggest that you start screening 10 years prior to when they were diagnosed.
Wow. Okay.
So, you know, very specifically in terms of the breast cancer in the Bahamas, we found in a study done about 2007 that the prevalence of the breast cancer gene, the BRCA1 or 2 gene, is about 24%, and that's the highest reported rate in the world.
And I knew we were very high up there with that reported gene.
It's doubled what it used to be.
Wow.
Because there was a population of women, Ashkenazi Jews, it was 11%, and they're 24%.
Wow.
So that's significantly higher. So that really brings home the fact that we really should be screening at 40.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, for people who do find out that they have breast cancer, what are our survival rates like? I think a couple of years ago, in the 90s, it might have been a bit different than it is now. But kind of talk to me about the fact, or at least provide hope for some people who might be nervous even about going in to get tested.
Well, you know, the key to any cancer diagnosis is early detection.
Okay.
And that's the purpose of the mammogram. The earlier you are in terms of stage 1 or 2, the more likely you are to have a successful outcome from treatment, be it surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation therapy. The later stages where we find a significant proportion of our population presents proves a challenge. But the earlier you can be diagnosed, the better your chances and your outcome.
So we do have to leave now, Dr. Alcides, but before we go, health costs are so exorbitant for some people. Are there any organizations, or Princess Margaret, do they do it there where you pay a nominal fee or no fee at all so that people can get screened earlier on?
Well, at Princess Margaret Hospital, no one is refused care. Right? We want to ensure that, you know, we treat everybody that presents with breast cancer, and we do our best to accommodate everybody. No one will be turned away. But in terms of, you know, assistance with financial costs and burden, the Cancer Society of the Bahamas, in conjunction with Ride for Hope, are assisting in that vein. And in addition to that, the Cancer Society has the ability to house some of the patients in their housing facility that they're trying to expand now. And a lot of the patients from the family islands can come and stay there and come and have their chemotherapy if they don't have family or access to some living quarters in New Providence. But we get, I mean, kudos to the Cancer Society. They have been helping. In addition to that, the sister group is very, very active as well. And they provide the porta-caps, the devices that you need to give the chemotherapy through, free of charge for breast cancer patients.
Excellent.
So that is fantastic. It eases the burden significantly.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
So who really own the Nassau Container Port?
Boss, that's easy. The government.
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
I do.
I do. And one day, he will too. I do. Knock knock.
Here at the Nassau Container Port, we've diversified our ownership to give hardworking Bahamians a piece of the economic pie. And we'll continue to grow so that we can give you a consistent return on your investment. That's our promise.
I always wanted to come back to the College of Bahamas. I wanted to be a faculty. When the opportunity came for me to be Vice President of Operations, I said, well, let me try that first. It makes me proud because I was here before. I feel as if now I'm sort of like a beacon for those students who are here to say, hey, listen, I can actually be a vice president. I can actually be one of the big leaders at the university.
I'm Ronnie Stevenson, and this is my UB.
Apply today at www.ub.edu.bs.
Don't miss The Financial Voice, October 9th at 8 p.m. at the Harry C. Moore Library. The free event is being held under the theme Tourism and Jobs, a better future for all. Panelists include Carlton Russell, Kerry Fountain, Rupert Pinder, Chandler Sands, and Vaughn Moss. Our host is Carlos Mackey. Come join us or watch us live on cable channel 212.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're at the halfway point on this marvelous Monday.
Marvelous Monday indeed. This is Anastasia Felicius.
Hello.
And I'm Philip Simon.
Listen, I want to send a very special shout out this morning to Mr. Wendell Clare.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure to have had him with us as long as we did. And whenever he makes a reappearance post-retirement, it is always a joy. Indeed.
Still the man. Interesting conversation. I wore my pink.
I saw you. I see you wearing your pink, man. That's good stuff. You know, Phil, I think about so many people in need in our nation. And I think Doreen has certainly shown us as a community what we could come together and give in times of extreme disaster. But consistently, there are so many ways that we can give. And I think just offering mammograms to people or providing costs for the, the sisters always are raising, funds for the ports, for the chemotherapy. Cancer Society, who houses people, and have been looking to expand that housing because so many women and men are dealing with breast cancer and need the resources. So in this time of disaster relief, I understand that people's giving might have to be varied, but certainly throughout the year, consistently, there are ways that we can be helping to contribute to the well-care of our nation.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. I agree 110%. Our lives should be a life of service, right? We have enough collectively that our brothers and sisters should never be in need.
Yeah.
So again, it's just a matter of how you want to live. How you want to give. And I still believe we have this really great, loving, giving spirit as Bahamians, collectively speaking, and in general. It's just that some of those bad apples get more of the attention.
Yeah, I agree. And so I want to remind women to not be afraid, because I know a lot of women and men, I think, not, it's a human element to deal with fear, but some people may see something or feel something and they're too afraid to go and get it checked out. And I think
I can
for
understand
us,
that.
yeah, and you've had your own health challenges, as have I, but I think it's so important that we don't live in fear, right? Because we cannot confront an enemy until we know that this is what it is.
Right.
And so please, this month, if you are over 40 or if you have a family member that presented earlier and it needs to go in earlier, please go in and get that mammogram done. Remember to do your self-checks, but it's just so important that we take care of ourselves and that we face things head on so that we can come to a solution.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But we've got more to come. We've got more to come. Leslie Vanderpool is back. Biff, been around for a long time. That is definitely her baby, man. She's taken it from, and I remember, I was at the Chamber of Commerce years ago when she first started this, but now this is a another level where she's taken it, and we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. We've also got the Abaco Chamber of Commerce talking about some of the challenges that they're facing as businesses, hoping that as the week continues, we'll be seeing more and more news related to how businesses can be supported post-hurricane, and I'm sure we'll bring that to you when that comes. But before we get to any of that, got a second look at weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Star. Good morning, Bahamas. In your second look at weather sunrise, we take a trip around the tropics. We have two systems, no threat to the islands though. We have a non-tropical low-pressure system. It's expected to develop along a frontal boundary over the central Atlantic Ocean between Bermuda and the Azores by late Monday. This system has a 50% chance of development over the next 5 days. And then we have another non-tropical low-pressure system. It's forecast to develop off the western Atlantic between Bermuda and the east coast of the United States by middle of the week. This system has a 30% chance of formation over the next 5 days. Elsewhere, tropical storm formation expected during the next 5 days. On the local scene, do have a surface trough across the northwest Bahamas, combined with a low to mid-level trough across the central Bahamas, and that's going to trigger off some showers and thunderstorms over the next several days across the islands. In your marine forecast, we have a caution posted. Winds today southeast to south at 15-20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet on northwest Bahamas. Those winds will be shifting south to southwest, continuing 15-20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet by tonight. And then on Tuesday, those winds south to southwest at 15-20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet on northwest Bahamas, east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet over the central and southeastern islands. Then on Wednesday, those winds become southeast to south at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet over the northwest and central Bahamas, continuing east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet over the southeastern islands. Here tides. You can expect a high tide at 8:50 this morning. Sorry, that's a low tide at 8:50 this morning. Next high tide is 3:13 this afternoon. Low again tonight at 9:45. Sunset 6:49 this evening. Rises when 7:05. UV index 8, your water temperature 84 degrees Fahrenheit, and the moon phase for its quarter. As we go through the week, a wet one and storm weather-wise, cloudy skies and breezy with scattered showers and possible thunderstorms, one to becoming heavier times. Those temperatures daytime will be in the mid-upper 80s at daytime, mid-upper 70s at nighttime. That puts a fine look in weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. Of course, it's been 16 years. I can't even believe it. But this lady remains lovely and she remains energized. Leslie Vanderpool, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's been 16
years. Thank you.
years.
I just want to thank Bahamas at Sunrise for waking me up early this morning. No, but always being a supporter of the film festival.
I mean, it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. I remember, talking with you about this vision that you had, and I was like just amazed.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just grown from, like they say, from strength to strength.
Yeah.
It's evolved. It's just transformed. It's developed its own legacy, especially with some of our younger students now, particularly the involvement. But 16 years of BIF. Wow.
BIF always has something up our sleeves because currently we're at the Current Art Gallery at Bahamas, actually doing showcases of films, past, present, and future, past, present, and current films. Bi-weekly, we showcase films. We've been doing this since the summer and all the way to the end of the year. On Tuesday, we're going to be showing 3 Bahamian films, 2 short films and 1 feature film. And I don't know if you overheard, but because of Dorian, we changed the dates of the festival back to December.
Right. So the 9th through the 15th.
So it's 9th through the 15th of December.
Okay.
And we're really focusing on any donation that we receive from ticket sales is going to go towards students and supplies for the students in Abaco. So
excellent.
We're really trying to assist with Minister MP James Albury for Central and South Abaco to showcase Abaco, because we went to Hopetown last year to do the Writers Residency Program.
I was about to ask.
And by the way, submission deadline is October 7th for any writers who are interested.
Well, that is this week. Yes.
Yeah. And so, everything December 9th through the 15th, the focus is on Nassau, but making sure that we highlight those 40 films from 19 countries around the world. We're showing films, we're doing retrospectives, we're having panel discussions, we're having Bahamian films, films from 30 years ago, the Spike Lee film Do the Right Thing, we're doing a retrospective and a few of the actors are coming down to showcase that film. We have films like hip hop and fashion. We have films that the Filipino community can enjoy. We have films that Pride and Glory, that Pedro Almodovar with Antonio Banderas and Penelope Cruz is in. We have music and film. We have panel discussions where Roger Corman, he is known as the Pope of cinema. He's made over 400 films, so he's coming down.
Wow.
He's going to be mentoring the Writers Residency Program in addition to doing panel discussions. And so we're really celebrating cinema at its best, and tourism is really making sure that people come to our shores. It's important to make sure that when people are on our shores, they're here to enjoy the opportunities. The venue is going to be all over Nassau. So Bahamas, we have a few other venues that we're not going to release right now until close to the date. And but yeah, it's always our loyal venues, Galleria, Bahamas.
I remember when my daughter actually participated in the years ago. She's in college now. Can you believe that? Second year of college, but this was
hopefully making films.
But this was one of the things that she really treasured. She really enjoyed it, even though she's not making films. She's studying medicine, but it's one of those experiences that kind of sticks with her. Same type of thing, I would imagine. You talk about the workshops. Will the young youth also have an opportunity to
Absolutely. We're going into the schools and we're teaching the students how to make film. We were supposed to be in the schools in September. Unfortunately, the hurricane has now not allowed us to do that, but we're still going, and we'll be showcasing their films at the festival. We're going to be showcasing the films from last year again at the film festival that the students made in a showcase. So it's all about everybody celebrating from 13 years to 80.
Yeah.
And
So can other people, I mean, volunteers?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
We have a website,
Okay.
BINTLfilmfest.com,
Mhm.
and you can also contact our number 698-1800
Mhm.
and solicit to volunteer.
Yeah.
We're always looking for volunteers.
Same thing with partnerships. I mean, you've had
Always looking
unique
for
partnerships over the years,
Yes.
and
Yes.
same thing this year.
We have wonderful partners,
Yeah.
and I really thank them for keeping us alive. Unfortunately, a lot of the focus is going towards Dorian,
Yeah.
but that's not going to discourage us, because we just really need to uplift our community.
Mhm.
And your co-host mentioned the international studios that are taking excellence.
Mhm.
I think we need to concentrate on the excellence at how we're building here. Through Bahamian cinema or films that are come out of the Bahamas, really celebrate what we have to offer, and continue to put ourselves on the map in a unique way.
Yeah, you've been at the forefront of this, obviously, 16 plus, much longer than 16 years. Where do you see the evolution of filmmaking and film writing, and in our country in particular?
I feel Caribbean cinema is really at its forefront right now. You see the opening night that we had last year, Sprinter, that was directed by Storm Salter, produced by Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. That is getting so much acclaim. So people are really looking to Caribbean cinema. Other stories, they're going to be coming to the Bahamas to make stories, to make films. And it's about our Bahamian residents, or our Bahamian people, or people that live in the Bahamas, to be serious about the cinema, make film, tell stories, celebrate stories, through documenting people who are doing wonderful things.
And there's so many stories. I mean, there's so many stories that we can share. One more time, for persons looking for more information on what's happening this year, the dates, the times, is the
festival
website.
is December 9th through the 15th, and our website is www.bintlfilmfest.com.
Okay.
And there's going to be a lot more information coming up, because I really want to announce our celebrity who we're honoring.
And you will be back
I will
on
be back.
Bahamas at Sunrise.
Yes,
All right,
yes.
Leslie, thank you so much.
Thank
so
you
good to
so
see
much.
you.
It's great to see you
All right,
always.
you're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We've been talking with Leslie Vanderpool, founder, executive director, all things related to BIF. We'll be right back.
This is Eddie, and Eddie's a change counter. This is Sean. Sean doesn't have to count change, because when Sean purchases a plan with Alive, it's VAT inclusive. Keep things simple, just like Alive's all-new VAT-inclusive prepaid plans with more talk, more text, and even more data. So don't be an Eddie. Freedom simplified. Alive. Believe in best.
Although parts of Abaco were completely demolished, the people of Abaco
are taking the positive view that they have the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to redesign and rebuild Abaco in a modern and efficient way. Back to tell us more about the Project Resurrect initiative is Ken Hutton, president of the Abaco Chamber of Commerce, and of course, Mr. Danon Tynes, who is the director of the Abaco Chamber. Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good to be here.
We promised that we would have to continue this conversation, and here we are. It's a very important one. So we left off with Project Resurrect, the need for partnership, and everything that's happening. How did Project Resurrect get started, and how quickly are people jumping into action?
Project Resurrect started shortly after the storm. We were, some people, myself and a couple other people, were just sitting around saying, you know, this has been so overwhelming. No government could have prepared for this.
Right.
We need to work with the government because, you know, their resources are limited at the time.
Right.
And going forward, you know, it's going to take many tens, hundreds of millions of dollars to rebuild Abaco. Those funds don't grow on trees, and a lot of times the best way to do it is to team up with the private sector, where we can actually bring a lot of those assets to bear in conjunction with the government and in cooperation with them, and together we can put together a program with the private sector and the government to put plans together to do the rebuilding, the redesigning, and the restructuring of Abaco.
I know it's really early, but when you talk about a plan, can you give us an idea of what that plan looks like? How will charitable donations kind of like be used to advance this plan?
Sure. The concept right now of Project Resurrect is that there will be a pool of donation funds which will be administered to international accounting standards, full visibility, full transparency. Everything will be above board. The funds will be used to do things like hire world-class city planners, civil consultant engineers to say and come in and we'll ask them, hey, we consider this a clean slate. What would a great Abaco town look like, considering the culture of the place, the history of the place? We want to put Abaco back together, but we want to do it with full disclosure of where the money is going, who it's going to, and taking things like culture and history into account.
I have a question for you, Danon. As an architect, when you talk about a modern Abaco, and we always say, oh, the building codes in the Bahamas are some of the best, right, in the world, but our buildings were not able to withstand this storm. Speak directly to that.
Well, for Category 5 that we had, with gusts of the 220 mile an hour winds, no one has designed for that. No one. And we have some of the most stringent building codes for hurricane buildings, hurricane resistant buildings, but nothing is hurricane proof. You know, when they say hurricane proof windows, it's actually just impact resistant.
Right.
After a few whacks at that same window, it will cave in. But to that extent, there will be some adjustments to accommodate for new building codes. That will be done primarily by the Ministry of Works and their engineers and that department.
Okay, because you did say we have to have a new approach to disaster relief. We have to have a new approach to all of this. So how will you accommodate the labor force on the island, and when would the Abaco Chamber like to be able to say Abaco is open for business again?
Yeah. When it comes to things like labor policy and labor regulations, those are things that are definitely the purview of the government.
Okay.
All we can do is make recommendations on things like that. It is totally under the authority of the government. We would certainly like to see certain things a certain way. Our goal as the Abaco Chamber of Commerce is, you know, we want to see Abaconians back to work as soon as possible. We want to see Bahamians back to work as soon as possible. If the labor pool does not allow us to have enough workers to accomplish what needs to be done, then I think that there may, I think the government may be looking at allowing some kind of concession to temporarily bring in construction workers and stuff to get things done, not on a permanent basis.
Where will they even stay?
The accommodations are definitely, that's a factor. I mean, there are no livable homes really left in Marsh Harbor. So I know that there have been discussions around man camps, around tent cities, things like that. I'm not privy to the status of those discussions. Those are being done at a higher level of government and through international aid agencies.
So remind us about the steps that the Chamber is taking right now, and what do you need? I could imagine generators, right?
Yeah, and again, definitely generators, roofing materials, tarps, things like that. But I think it's important to differentiate. The Chamber is not a relief organization. The relief is actually being done by the government, by NGOs, by the UN, by other organizations like that actually specialize in that. What we're trying to do with Project Resurrect and with the Chamber is to say, okay, once we've dealt with these immediate needs, what is the strategy going forward for Abaco? How can we rebuild Abaco? Let's get the immediate needs taken care of, but let's not lose sight of the fact that all this has to come back together and get Abaco working and moving again. What do we want it to look like? And that's what Project Resurrect is.
And you bring those specialists together. Can I volunteer, or you have to be selected to be on Project Resurrect?
Everything, nothing has been finalized right now. It is still being put together as we speak. There are a number of hurdles that we've had, legal and financial, that we've had to put together, but they're all coming together.
And understandably so, and so we thank you for taking the initiative, at least to make the Bahamian people aware of this, those who are watching our broadcast, our live stream all around the world, the different agencies who want to come forward and give help. We spoke with Jeff Beckles, you know, the president of the Chamber here, and this is a wonderful initiative. We wish you all the best. Bahamas at Sunrise is here for you, and we want to keep the people informed every step of the way. So thank you, Mr. Ken Hutton.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dane Tynes.
You're welcome.
Abaco Chamber is on the move, all right? I love it. So we're still rebuilding in the midst of hurting, we're still healing. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on Bahamas at Sunrise. We will be right back.
One thing, two things, blue thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right, and in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Bahamas at Sunrise. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful Monday. Have a beautiful week.
Certainly.
Might be a little wet, but still
yes,
beautiful.
Sounds like it's going to be very wet. We're going to be back here with more on Friday. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.